Hello and welcome back to Dark Souls 1. Now this is part 3 of our whip run, which, in case you don't remember, last time we beat 5 bosses, rang both Bells of Awakening to get the gate to Sens Fortress open, and we got a new set, which we're going to put on. Now, it actually has more defense. Not by too much, but it's got more defense, despite being 3 upgrades lower, which is interesting, but it looks cool. It's a red, matches pyromancies, so we'll take it. And right about here, I realized I don't have a shield, which, I realized that before in the run, but some classic Dark Souls 1 pathing right here. But it wasn't until here that I really realized the ramifications of the fact that I don't have a shield, mixed with the fact that the whip can't actually parry. It's really those two things in tandem. Because I'm very much used to getting through this area by just parry spamming. Or maybe not parry spamming, but relying almost entirely on parrying. And we don't have that here. Which, yikes. I mean, we have 16 fireballs, but it took 6 to get rid of those two, and there's a lot more to come. But moving forward, we get 2 large Titanite shards, and yeah, we're already taking damage. But we continue on, and that enemy decided to chase us down here, and then they got one shot. Which I've never seen that happen before, but I'll take it. I'll also take the Ring of Steel Protection, because physical defense is very good when you don't have a shield. And we're going to put that on because we need that more than stamina regeneration. And since we don't have a shield, and especially since we can't parry, we gotta play things a bit smarter than we usually do. So we gotta use traps against the enemies, because when some strategies don't work out, you need to fall back on previous ones. Now, this enemy, when they aggro onto you, they like to drop down to try to get to you, and we can kind of abuse that to get here safely and get the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring. And then we can drop down, because we don't have to worry about that enemy. It's nice, it's safe, there's no one here, except for this guy who we ran past because I didn't think I had enough fireballs for him. But we can't use the whip because it really likes to bounce off walls, so we had to kill him here. Because something about Dark Souls is when you run past one enemy, it's probably going to come back to bite you. And the more enemies you run past, the more it comes back. But running on through, we kind of figured out a strategy. And it didn't work with the first one, but if you have room to back up, you can bait them into an attack and then use Fireball there. And then for these things, you can just use the whip and stun lock them. Which you can't stun lock the greatsword ones. They have too much poise. But these guys you can stun lock. And so that's good. And here I'm just gonna let this play itself out. So, we found a new problem with the whip. So that's not good. But problem number one... Well, 2 large Titanite shards. But problem number one is whips really like to bounce off the walls in these games. Or in this game. Problem number two is against enemies with decent poise or decent shield, whips are just kind of worthless. They don't do anything. But going up to the giant, every time I have a pokey weapon, like piercing swords, some of the halberds, and I'm sure I'm gonna say it when we use spears as well, is that they're not good against these enemies because they have like thin legs, and that's how you're supposed to hit them. And locking on brings you to center of mass, which is between the legs, which makes locking on, it makes you miss. Whereas slashing weapons are very good, which I don't think most people associate whips with slashing, but two-handed light attack is a very wide arc. It goes to the side, and it has like a 270-degree arc, it looks like, just from the eyeball math, which makes it very good for this. But we got the 3k souls, we got the Titanite chunk, and moving on down, we got the 2 large Titanite shards, and the soul from this now safe area. And continuing down a few more enemies, we get the flame stone plate ring. And then heading on back to Andre, with the large Titanite shards we got, we can get another 8 base, 3 additional, that's another 11 damage on paper. And then another 8 base, 4 additional, that's 12 damage on paper. And then another 8 base, 3 additional, that's another 11 damage on paper. And like that, we got the whipped plus 10, which is all we can do for now until after Ornstein Smough, when we get the very large ember. But then we head on back to Firelink, where we get the pyromancy flame from plus 4 up to plus 6.
Goodbye then.
And the reason why I did this was because every single dex build we've had up to this run has had garbage damage against Iron Golem. And we've already noticed, both with Quelag and with the Man Serpents in Sens Fortress, that our whip damage just is not good. And so, before even going into the Iron Golem fight, I already knew that we couldn't... Not only could we not rely on the whip, it would be borderline useless in the Iron Golem fight. And so I figured we probably need to bolster our pyromancy flame and probably get more fireballs as well. And so I figured we're gonna need to do a few things. First of all, heading on off to Northern Undead Asylum in order to bolster our pyromancies, so that way we can get through Iron Golem. And a big part of that is getting souls. So after collecting ourselves, we take note of the 10 Estus that we have, and I will let this attempt play itself out. And that's Stray Demon down. Pretty easy. And a nice 20k. So that'll help us go decently far. And we beat him with the Whip plus 10, Pyromancy Flame plus 6, along with Fireball, Crimson Set, Ring of Steel Protection, Wolf Ring, and 1 sip of the Estus because of the gravity coming in. And we beat him at level 37 with 21 Vitality, 21 Endurance, 21 Dexterity, 15 Resistance, and we beat him first try. And from here, this is normally something that I'd skip, but again, we don't have a shield for like proper parries, and we can't actually get parries off because the whip doesn't do that. And so we have to resort to this like weird, not really parrying, but kind of just like batting the enemy attacks away and then punishing. So like same idea, but very scuffed execution because of how poorly I set this character up beforehand. And at least for, well, we're doing whip, so really for the rest of the run, anytime we run into a knight, we're gonna have to do that. But for now, we got the Peculiar Doll, and honestly, kind of glad that I learned how to hand parry from the Curved Greatsword run. Man, I missed that run already. It was so fun. But moving on, we drop some rubbish, quit the game, load back in, because that gets us a Titanite chunk. And yep, Titanite chunk. And here I remembered that I forgot to get the Rusted Iron Ring, so we went back to go get that. And a Rusted Iron Ring acquired. And so we move on, and if you pop the Moonlight Butterfly Soul, you get 1,200. But if you feed it to Frampt, is their name Frampt? I think it is. You get 8,000. So big increase, and something I've never heard before.
Farewell,
But I've seen it there,
chosen
so.
undead.
But we walk away from him. I didn't know if Quail Egg Soul is better to pop or feed.
Oh, well.
So. And from there, with the souls that we got from the boss and from popping those 2 souls, we can upgrade the Pyromancy Flame from +6 to +10. There we go. Just enough to get it to +10. And the reason for this is partially to get more pyromancy damage, but also partially because once you get it to +10, a new NPC spawns, and they will be crucial for us getting through Iron Golem. So we head on down to Blighttown. We swap over to the Pyromancer set because it has much better poison resist. And I figured, you know, while I'm here, might as well just do another damage check, which, 1, 2. When we first came here, it took 4, so we've doubled our damage since then, which is very good to see. Absolutely love it. But heading on down, at this pillar kind of close to the barbarians, there's a new NPC now, so we can talk to them.
A mere undead, yet you can see me. Fascinating. I am Quelana of Izalith. I am not often revealed to walkers of flesh. You have a gift. Are you too one who seeks my pyromancy, like Solomon?
Yes, I am.
Yes, of course. It should be expected. Very well. You shall be my pupil, but to pursue my pyromancy, you must give something up. Are you prepared to do this?
The only thing I can think of would be like souls, because she doesn't ask us to give anything else up. She just goes straight into this, which is kind of weird, but anyways, from here you can purchase Fire Orb, you can purchase Great Fireball, Firestorm, Fire Whip, Combustion, which we can already get from Laurentius, Great Combustion, Undead Rapport, and Fireball. Which we already have 2 Fireballs, but we get another one. Because, like I said, very important for the upcoming boss. And we can also use her to upgrade the Pyromancy Flame as well.
Long ago, I accepted another pupil like yourself. Over 200 years ago, there was a man almost as bungling as you. In your world, he was called Salaman, the Master Pyromancer. The little rascal really made something of himself. Pyromancy is the art of invoking and manipulating fire. But remember one thing. Always fear the flame, lest you be devoured by it and lose yourself. I would hate to see that happen again. Pyromancy is the art of invoke, but remember what I would hate. Now go. Whatever you do not crack and go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.
I won't. But with that done, we can now go talk to Ingvi, or whatever their name is, the other guy. And after popping the rest of our poppable souls and then going down here, we can talk to him. And for 25k, we can buy Toxic Mist. And we can buy Poison Mist, but we already have one of those, and we need those. We need the rest of our souls for something else. So we can Homeward Bone out, and after getting to 18k, we can sit down and put 2 levels into Attunement to get a 3rd Attunement slot, which will allow us to put on the 3rd Fireball, giving us another 8, bringing us up to 24 uses. Again, like I said, I was thinking that this would probably be crucial. I wasn't 100% sure, but after heading up, we took a little bit of damage, but we'll be fine. So we're coming with 10 Estus, and with that being said, I will let this attempt play itself out. And that is Iron Giant down, or Iron Golem, whatever their name is. But with that, 40k, 52 once we pop the soul. And we beat him with the Whip plus 10, Pyromancy Flame plus 10, along with the Fireball, and the Crimson set, along with Ring of Steel Protection, Wolf Ring, and 2 Sips Theistus. And we beat him at level 39 with 21 Vitality, 21 Endurance, 21 Dexterity, 15 Resistance, and we beat him first try. And with that, we can head on off to Anor Londo, where we had 5 levels, and I was thinking about putting them into Resistance, so we could have Vitality, Endurance, Dex, and Resistance all be even. But I was thinking about what we needed. Like, not just, oh, make the stats even, because I like that, but I was thinking about what do we need? And we need damage a lot more than we need defense right now. And so I decided to put pretty evenly between Vitality and Dexterity, because we don't really need stamina right now. I mean, our stamina and especially our equip load are fine. But we continue on, and last time I saw one of you guys, I got carried by Solaire. But this time it's a one-on-one, it's a fair fight, and yeah, that's what happens when there's a fair fight. Which, that horribly missed, but then it somehow hit. And you might realize that I don't know what's up with Fireball and Gargoyles that horribly missed but somehow hit. But Fireball just does not like to lock on and hit these things, even if you use it at point blank range. But eventually I gave up on using Fireball because it keeps missing. And once we stopped using Fireball, we won. And it wasn't close at all. No siree. We had that in the bag the entire time. We definitely didn't almost die there. But moving on, there's a second one. And I didn't dodge. But for the second one, I figured, yeah, I'm not gonna try to overly rely on Fireball, because it keeps not working. So I'm just gonna use the thing that works, which we got overly aggressive and ran out of stamina, which got us hit. But outside of that, the whip works a lot better than Fireball, because it actually hits. And as long as we have the stamina to dodge, we can take him out. And much easier when we aren't trying to use Fireball and having it whiff every single time at point blank range, which somehow only happens with that one specific enemy. But moving on, these guys love to shoot us, and so I decided to use that to my advantage, which second one stuns, third one kills. Very nice that the arrows go straight over your head and they just love to spam the arrows instead of actually trying to swing at you. But, yep. More night enemies. More doing this. And this is an area full of night enemies, so it's an area full of this. I'm not going to show every one of these, but I'm going to show a few just because it's very disrespectful and kind of hilarious. And it's really it's really funny, at least to me, to think of these knights. And this is like the area of the gods, and these are the knights that fought alongside Gwyn. And here they're getting bodied by some rando wearing like a bathrobe with a whip. Like, I don't know why, but that's just super comedic to me. But yeah, parrying this game is... that took half our stamina. That took half of our stamina bar, so we better back up. But parrying in this game is way too lenient. Because I can do it quite easily. And yeah, I have like 200 hours on this game. And so I've gotten a decent bit of practice. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was tens of thousands, if not 100,000 or more hours on the series as a whole. But the only 2 games where I parried are this one and Bloodborne, and 1 single run in Elden Ring. But I didn't talk to Siegmeyer in Sens Fortress, so he's not here. So we're fine skipping his quest for 1 run. But yeah, parrying just a little too lenient. Like, a little too lenient. And you may have noticed that here I have 16 fireballs instead of the 24 we went out of our way to get. But you don't have to worry about that. We're definitely not doing anything with those 16 fireballs, or the lack thereof. And for some reason they don't fly even though they have wings, but whatever. 500 souls and a nice chunk. Stupid bat. But we head on down. We have 2 humanity, so we go back in human form. And we kindle this fire. And we're not going into human form for any reason. No reason whatsoever. Just like how we're down 8 fireballs for no reason. We went into human form for no reason, alright? You don't need to worry about it. We're not doing anything. But continuing on, they can do that attack, which I wasn't comfortable parrying, so I just ran away. But again, this is so disrespectful. Like, they have to be so embarrassed by this. Getting bodied by, again, some rando in a bathrobe with a whip. Barehanded. It must feel so bad. But Solaire is here. And so we summon a Solaire. Which, again, I don't want to overly rely on summoning. But again, not super comfortable with our weaponry. And our armor isn't that great either. And we could be a higher level. And this is a duo fight. So... Solaire, you okay? Okay, well... Yeah, for the 16 fireballs, it's because we put on Toxic Mist. But, again, we're only summoning Solaire for duo fights. But with that being said, I will let this attempt play itself out. And that's Ornstein Smough down. And a nice 50k. And honestly, Solaire's mostly there for phase 1. But we beat him with the Whip plus 10, Pyromancy Flame plus 10, along with Fireball and Toxic Mist, Crimson Set, Ring of Steel Protection, Wolf Ring, and 3 sips of the Estus Flask. And we beat him at level 45 with 24 Vitality, 21 Endurance, 24 Dexterity, 15 Resistance, and we beat him first try. And from there, we can open up these doors and talk to the person who doesn't give us the Healy Ring, because this game doesn't have one for some reason. I'm never gonna drop that. I'm never gonna let him live it down. Thank you for the Lord Vessel, but not having a Healy Ring is just oof. Like, I would rather have a Healy Ring than the ability to teleport. But we got the Peculiar Doll, so now we can head off to the Painted World of Ariamis. Which normally I just run through this area because the enemies suck. But there's a few things we have to do here. Or get here. So we have to be somewhat thorough. First of which is off to the side, buy some souls. And you have to be in human form. Because it's an invasion by the King Jeremiah. Who, just like us this run, is using a whip and pyromancies. Which, that was 23 damage. Oof. And, oh god, please no, please, please, please. Because I know that would do a ton of damage. Now, something about NPC invaders that have magic is they have infinite amount of magic. They can use it as many times as they feel like it. And they usually have pretty good spells. A lot better than their melee weapon. And so because of that, they just spam their melee, or they spam their magic. Which, yeah, that took half our health right there. Which, our armor isn't great, but again, infinite range to spam. Now they're dead. And we got 30k from them. But I'm going to ask you a question. Did they use their melee attack once? Did they use their notched whip once? I don't think so. But killing them gets us the notched whip. Second of 3 whips. I don't know if we're going to get the third because you only get one chance at it. I won't be super distraught if we don't get it. But we also get Acid Surge Pyromancy. And from there, we can head down this ladder into this well, which, yeah, in the darkness, in these tiny, tiny little caves, are bone wheel skeletons who can stun lock you. Keep in mind I have 40 poise. Not the best, but pretty decent. But heading on back, they roll again. We pick up our souls. I let them roll at me again, and I say, you know what? No, I'm not gonna deal with that right now. So we just move on through. There's another bone wheel skeleton, so I use the AoE from Fireball to get him. But then we get a surprise visitor. Hello. Which, then there's a toxic guy over here, and so we kill them. But this guy just really isn't done with us. So we kill him. We get Pyromancy, Fire Surge. And I have heard a lot of people complain about Blighttown. And I've heard a lot of people say that Blighttown is this garbage, evil, terrible area. because of the toxic enemies, and because the enemies are just really, really bad. But in my experience, the toxic enemies in Blighttown aren't that bad. They have no melee attacks. They just have slow-moving projectiles that you can easily walk past. They die in 1 to 2 hits. I basically never get toxicked in Blighttown. Like, the last time I got toxicked in Blighttown was, like, my 2nd run, and that was my fault. Whereas here, not only do you have a lot more toxic enemies, but the ones here respawn, whereas they don't respawn in Blighttown. And here, most of the enemies in the Painted World are just tutorial enemies with jacked up damage, or variants of tutorial enemies that toxic you if you kill them within melee range, and then bone wheel skeletons that are in this very dark, cramped space, so it's hard to see them, it's hard to avoid them, and even with decent poise, like at 40, they can still stun lock you and do massive damage very, very quickly. And so anyone who complains about Blighttown because the enemies are bad has no right to defend this area because of its enemies. Because the enemies here are so much worse than the enemies in Blighttown. Like, the area itself is decent. I like it. But I never explore this area because the enemies are just so garbage. But eventually, we get through, we get out of there, we get everything we need, and we come up here and we get the Blood Shield. Because Sens Fortress showed me that a bit of a pain without a shield. I mean, more so a pain because we couldn't parry, because the whip can't do that, but I still wanted a shield, which we got the Crimson set, which is red, and we got Pyromancy Flame and Pyromancies, which are red, and the Blood Shield is red, and so I thought, hey, that fits, and also the Blood Shield looks really cool, and I was supposed to use it last run with halberds, but the other shield that I was using, the Hollow Soldier Shield, was just better, and so I ended up not using it. And so I figured, since I didn't use it then, might as well use it now, because I feel like it deserves it. But eventually we get here. Take note that we have 6 Estus,
Who are what?
and I put on Toxic Mist to try to toxic them, and I figured that's probably not enough build-up. So, do I have any dung pies? I had 1, I threw it. It wasn't enough, so we'll just have to go with fireballs and the whip. But with that being said, I will let this attempt play itself out.
I expected as much from thee. Why dost thee hurry?
And that's Priscilla down. And the Xanthus set in 30k, so that's nice. Now, we beat her with the Whip plus 10, Pyromancy Flame plus 10, with Fireball Pyromancy. Now we had Toxic Mist, but it didn't do anything, so... And Crimson set, Ring of Steel Protection, Wolf Ring, and 0 Sips of the Estus, because we came in with 6. And we beat him at level 50 with 26 Vitality, 22 Endurance, 26 Dexterity, 15 Resistance, and we beat him first try. And from there, we're free to go. And then, since we have the Lord Vessel, we can send a giant laser beam into the sky. And that can be a signal to the whole world, including Crestfallen Guy, who likes to hang out and be mopey, that he can now go fight Nito. And the entirety of the Duke's Archives. And the entirety of Demon Sage Plus. Which, I'm sure he'll get right on that. But then we can head back, see the floppy mustache, and at this point we had plenty of stuff to feed. Plenty of equipment, weapons, some armor, all sorts of stuff to get those tasty, tasty souls. Which, I'll keep the Xanthus set for now. No reason not to. I don't know why. But from there, we got some more souls. We can pop both Ornstein's and Priscilla's for 12k each. Which, that now puts us over 100k. And we got some more souls. And I was thinking, do we use this to upgrade our Pyromancy Flame even more, or do we use it to level up? Which, I think we use it to level up. Because our Pyromancy is doing very well. Which, we have just enough for 7 levels. Which, feeling a bit indecisive. I don't know what to do right now, so we can figure that out next time. But for now, we got the Pyromancy Flame to plus 10, we got up to 24 fireballs, we got a new NPC, new set that we probably won't use, but we got the Notched Whip, it has bleed buildup, that's pretty cool. We might use this, who knows, who knows. We also got the Blood Shield, so we can have a shield if we need it. And, I mean, we also got some decent rings. We got Steel Protection is really good. Flame Stoneblade Ring is really good for when there's fire damage. We got Slumbering Dragoncrest Ring and Rusted Iron Ring. And, I mean, Toxic Mist and, again, Quelana. And the Lord Vessel. So, we got good progress today. So, yeah.